If you're wondering how to do web design in 2025, then that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, obviously, I've been in web design for a number of years, 20 years, more than that, and I've done web design in a few different ways. That being said, I'm looking into 2025 with a few ideas on how I can optimize, how I can drop some bad habits, how I can drop things that haven't been so helpful, and repeat some successes of 2024. So if you're in web design, I welcome the conversation. And if you're not yet in web design and you're thinking of giving it a go, then you'll get ahead of the game with some things that you should do in your web design journey, and perhaps some things that you should steer clear of. So the first thing I would say in terms of a change I want to make in 2025 is about whether or not I'm a sort of like a one-tool tool. Am I somebody that only uses a very specific range of tools and doesn't stray from those? So last year, around this time, I would have said that I'm happy with WordPress and Elementor. I run a web department for a marketing agency, and Elementor Pro is used exclusively there. I then also have my own clients, my own pool of clients. And then on the side of that, I have a web design course on Udemy, and of course this YouTube channel. And Elementor Pro has been the central tool of use in all of those. That being said, throughout 2024, I started to experiment more with Breakdance. And the reason for that was actually that a friend with an agency started to switch over to Breakdance, and I had a bit of a play. And I started to think, wow, this is actually really quite cool. But before that, I had the opinion that you should learn a tool, become really confident with it, and use that primarily just so that you can work effectively. You know what you're able to do with it. You can quote more easily in terms of the time it would take you to do a task, and you know the capabilities of what you can do. And I stand by that. I think all of that makes a lot of sense, and it's a really efficient way to work. That being said, I feel like I'm doing better web design throughout the last part of 2024 with the use of Breakdance. Now, obviously then, that opens up the idea that if I've benefited positively from stepping out and using a different tool and having a look at how something's working, then I should be more open to doing that in the future. So while I'm chucking myself into Breakdance a lot more, and I feel that it will continue to be the predominant page builder that I'm using, I have to acknowledge that it's good to hear a whisper on the horizon and listen to it, go and have a look and see what people are talking about. I don't think it's wise to jump in and out of the use of different tools each time, but people have come to me and asked me to do a web design project for them, and they might be using Shopify or Wix, and whilst I would never promote the use of those as platforms, and I really, really strongly do not. As long as I'm billing for the time that might be a learning curve and just me getting familiar with it, there isn't really anything wrong with doing web design on a different platform. It's web design. So I'm a lot more open to that this year, and actually I think I'll be more purposeful in doing so. I will also say that whilst Elementor Pro is still used predominantly in the agency that I'm working at, in my own freelance journey, I predominantly use Breakdance for all of my projects, all new projects, and I've even converted most of my client sites to Breakdance out of Elementor Pro. I think I'll do a video on that soon. What are the benefits of each one? I don't think Elementor is dead. I don't think Elementor is bad. It's really good as a page builder, and it really suits clients, probably more than Breakdance, who, if they want to use their site after the build. But yeah, definitely pros and cons, and I'd love to jump into that in another video. The second thing that I'm going to be more mindful of this year is definitely choosing clients or billing appropriately for the pain in the ass ones. And I don't mean that as a disrespectful comment to anyone, but I have or sometimes found myself very frustrated at the desk at 11:30 or quarter to 12 at night, realizing that I'm doing another free job or another out of scope element for people that really won't appreciate it. And this has always been a thing with clients, usually the ones that don't want to pay what you would fairly request. They're going to be the most demanding. And sometimes I found myself doing almost over the shoulder design where they're pretty much on a screen share saying, now put that there, now put that there. And I kick myself if I've ended up in that situation. But once you're in it, you're in it. And I'm certainly adjusting all of my terms and conditions to, and I'll cover this in a video as well, to cover the idea that you can get so far into a project and realize this isn't going to work. And so I think there needs to be a get out clause where somebody can take a certain amount of the progress of a project and you walk away with a non-refundable deposit. I think that's fair in some instances. And also just bear in mind with some clients that they're going to say something is really important. They'll get a fresh idea that wasn't in the scope, and it's of the utmost importance until you actually draw that line and say, okay, well, I'm happy to do that, but it will be an additional fee. Suddenly it's not so important, and it can be difficult to keep a relationship positive. But what I think I'm realizing is that's not actually my problem. I'm a business, I have prices for time spent on something, and it's just unfair to feel pressured to be a people pleaser. Again, not to sound bitter, but I've noticed that clients that have had the best of me, and by that I mean really exploited my goodwill, they're never actually the ones that take the time to jump on and put a Google review in place, or even sometimes thank you for the work. So yeah, I just don't be too precious about it. Be business minded and choose clients carefully. If you're happy to work with them still, just make sure that you are billing very well for the time and the extra correspondence and sometimes the extra pressure. Quite quietly now, I have a PITA item on my invoices, and it stands for pain in the ass. So charge for that. The third thing really is about focusing more on the recurring. So web design can be very feast or famine, to be honest. A project payment can be really welcome, and this is something that's always kept web design in my life, even if it hasn't been my primary career. Mainly because I could be out working, and I've had various roles in my life, but sometimes I would have a need for a new car, and I would suddenly put myself out there for web design, get myself a project, and buy a new car. I don't know why I didn't go into web design full-time sooner, because it pays a lot better. But again, it still can be quite feast and famine. Project payments are generous when they come in, but you have to really work hard to make sure that they are frequent. So a really good bridge for that is the recurring income. And this has usually been something like icing on the cake for me. So if somebody has enjoyed working with me on a project, I can host their site, and that's a payment. I can offer maintenance also. And then an additional one that I charge for is membership. So if they are a member with me paying monthly, then they get a cheaper hourly rate for any other project work. That's worked really well for me, but it's not something I've really pushed. When I'm doing my taxes and I look at how much that mounts up over a year, I realize that if I'm turning more clients into a recurring payment, I'm going to be doing a lot better. And it won't be so feast or famine throughout the year with web design, in my freelance journey anyway. That's something I would definitely encourage you to think about. How can you take more recurring payments throughout 2025 is certainly something I'm going to focus on this year. The last one really is a little bit like point number one, but it's about having time to learn. Now, I'm not the only web designer who works full-time in web design because I used to spend evenings playing around with stuff and enjoying the learning process. And then eventually you get good enough to charge some mates for some projects that you might do for them. Then you might step out there and do a bit of freelance. And now look at me, I run a web department. And that's a really great process. It's a really great journey, but it can stop when you end up in a sort of very efficient rut. And over the last couple of months, I've put a bit more time into learning. I've been getting more into graphics again and videography. I'm thinking of playing around a little bit with 3D rendering again and things like that. Things that just make me go, ooh. And that's a really important part of the process. One, it keeps you interested, it keeps ideas flowing. But I think the big thing is that you never know what opportunities will present themselves in the future, especially if you're already working in the industry. And I want to be ready for them when they come along. So throughout 2025, I think I'm going to have something like 20, 30 minutes at the end of every day where it's just free learning. I can read something or do an exercise or just have a look into something that makes me curious. And that's going to keep me sharp, being the big tool that I am. So those are some of my thoughts on how to do web design in 2025. I'd love to hear some of yours as well. And if you're just getting into web design, I think you'll find that these are good things to start thinking about as you roll in. Certainly some hard lessons don't need to be learned by you. Learn from those that have stepped in and done it before. The client one is something that all web designers can relate to, I think. Okay, if you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. A lot of this will affect my channel, actually. I'm broadening out into wider web design and different page builders. This channel has been very Elementor focused, but I think I'm going to broaden it to definitely Breakdance and also other elements of web design that I do on a daily basis. So yeah, look out for that on this channel, and I hope you enjoy.